Hey YouTube, Rook here from Rook, Geek, Goodness, my little channel web for all things geeky and cool. And welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to a brand new Magic the Gathering unboxing and review video. Now, I talked about this particular set coming out for a few times on my stream. I was kind of really excited for this particular set because it's the first time we've ever gotten Dungeons & Dragons inspired based cards, from, in this case it's the Adventures of Forgotten Realms, crossing over into Magic the Gathering. They've never done this yet. They've kept the properties for both D&D and Magic the Gathering separate in the card game format. Pretty recently, they did decide to do what was called the Ravnica set in Magic the Gathering and make a source book that was compatible with Dungeons & Dragons. So they did it the other way around. This time, it's going from the card-based side, representing D&D-based characters and themes, thematics, in Magic the Gathering sort of format. And this is basically replacing the core 2021 set. And there's a lot of good perks for this particular set, and there's a lot of things I think they kind of failed on, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. I'll do a final thoughts at the end of the video, give you my kind of idea and my perception of how this set was handled, and let you know basically if you buy the set or not. Now, I have two boxes here, as you can see. I'm only going to crack into one of these boxes. I'm going to keep one. I'm going to sit on it and open up one box to see what we get. There's 36 packs in this box. It is a what they call a draft booster box. You'll know if you got a legitimate box, has not been tampered, because this Wizard of the Coast writing you see is a kind of a tamper-proof wrapper, so you know if this box has been tampered with or not, and it looks legit to me. If you look on the side here, we have this number over here. This one does not have a number on it. It's blank. So I'm going to open this one, I think, is what I'm going to open. There are, again, 36 packs in a particular box. I'm going to point out a couple interesting pieces, especially what they have listed as dungeon cards. It seems to be a very, very cool mechanic. You go through a dungeon. The player that, you know, if you're going against or going in a commander game, they can't stop your progress in the dungeon. The dungeons are based on the player who plays them. There are effects that can happen as you progress through the dungeon. There'll be cards that say venture into the dungeon to trigger the effects. You might also see what they call kind of monster manual based drawing cards, which are the same kind of character but different border. It's an extended art card, so it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go very slowly for the first few packs, and then I'm going to speed through them and just kind of give you my thoughts about particular cards as I crack them open. So let's get into it, guys. Let's crack into the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. If you're not familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, the Forgotten Realms is sort of the main or the biggest let's say the play area, or the environment. That's what I'm looking for the environment for Dungeons & Dragons. That's where most of the games are played at. They basically replaced a set that was called Greyhawk. So Forgotten Realms is like the go-to play set. That's what word I was looking for. Got a little tongue-tied here. Very excited for this product. I got this on Amazon for about $119 a box. If you want to know the price, it's $119. So let's crack into the box. Again, 36 packs per box. You normally get a buy a box promo. I did not get it since I didn't go to I didn't go to LGS or local gaming stores, what it's called. So I didn't get the buy a box promo. Again, 36 packs per box. We got 3 stacks here. Kind of push them up here. We'll showcase off the packaging real quick so you can see what it looks like. Move the box to the side. Standard pack would look like this. It does have Dritz in it and Gwenwyvar. So if you want to know what the packaging looks like, this would look like the packaging. So let's crack into it and see what we get. Hopefully we get some really cool stuff. I've been very, very excited for this set. I know all about the spoilers. I read through all of the spoilers. Very interesting set. So let's take a look at what we got here. So we got here, again, some of these are reprints as well. I noticed the color looks to be a little bit kind of drab. I don't know if it's the printing. Fairies Reversal, Circle of the Moon. I'm going to go really quick. The Gloomstalker here, so if you can see it, hopefully you can see it okay. We have some effects that have D&D based effects. We start rolling dice. This is very, very cool. If you notice here, you roll a d20. It's the first time I've ever had anything where you would roll a particular die. They normally don't do dice in Magic the Gathering. So it's the first time this set is really incorporating that mechanic as rolling a d20. So very neat idea. Dragonfire, Feign Death, which is a very D&D based spell. Pixie Guide, Neverwinter Dryad, which is very, very interesting because there isn't a Neverwinter card. That's one thing I want to talk about at the end of the video, or certain areas that you expected to be in this set is in fact not in the set. And I'll talk more about that near the end of the video. Clattering Skeletons, Burning Hands, another iconic D&D based spell here. This is an uncommon. We have, these are cool, these are called class cards. Basically, this was the clear class card. So basically you pay the effect, in this case 1 white, and then you get the, if you gain life, you gain that much life plus 1. Now if you pay the next ability, level 2, you pay in this case 3 colors and a white, you get the next ability. Then if you pay the next one, 4 colors and a white, then the next ability will trigger. And this will be an uncommon one. They have these in all varieties as far as classes and D&D based classes here. They have commons, uncommons, rares, and I think mythic as well. Then we have fly, which is another uncommon. And then we have ourselves our rare. Again, this is like a class card we just saw a second ago. This is monk class, and it's a multicolored one. It's a blue-white. So we got our first really cool class card. So that's our rare. Also, their lands are a little different here because you have flavor text on the lands. Normally, they didn't do that with Magic the Gathering. Their normal basic lands don't have flavor text, but they do in this set. And we got ourselves a treasure token card here. So pretty cool. Again, they did a lot of different things with this particular set compared to other sets, and you'll see more about that when we start getting to the really weird cards. There's beholders in here, Dritz is in this particular set. I'm going to go through them again pretty quick. Here's one I was going to talk about, and I'll stop here for a second. It says, you see a guard approach. People really are not happy with these sort of cards because they don't want to call it as a spell in Magic called you see a guard approach. Think of this as the old school, like a choose your own adventure thing, or if you see it from a dungeon master's perspective, saying this particular event would happen in a gaming group. He'll say, for example, you see a guard approaching, what do you do? And you have a bunch of choices you can do. You can choose one. You can distract the guard, and you do an effect. You can hide, and you do the other effect. So it's sort of like a choose your own adventure thing, or you're being prompted by the dungeon master to do something. I like that. I like the approach. I don't think they should have said you see a guard approach. Maybe it could have been called something else, and then, instant you see a guard approach, but call it something else. That I think people would have been upset if they did that. Contact other planes. Again, this is another D20 effect you have to do. Again, these are all commons. They have colored equipment. There's a dueling rapier. Horde Bull Strength, a very popular Magic the Gathering spell, D&D spell rather. Venturing Dungeoneer. So this is what I was talking about for the going into a dungeon. Normal effects, there's no way to get into a dungeon unless there's a card specifically that allows you to move either to pick a dungeon up, which is basically sitting in the command zone, or to venture into the next area of the dungeon. So this one says when Veteran Dungeoneer enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. So he automatically would trigger the effect of going into the dungeon. Shortcut Seeker, again, this would be another dungeon-based effect. Shortcut Seeker deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. Same sort of deal. A wolf card, Dire Wolf Prowler, Zombie Ogre. Purple Worm, which is a very classic D&D monster. Here's what I was talking about, the sketch cards. So we have here, this is basically, think of this out of the monster manual. So these are not guaranteed per pack, you just can get them whenever you get them. This is an uncommon one. This is a Cradles of Baldur's Gate, so we're talking about Baldur's Gate here. But yet Baldur's Gate is not in the set as a physical card. It's a legendary creature, human elf rogue, which means he's a half elf. Whenever Cradle of Baldur's Gate deals combat damage to a player, that player loses 1 life, mills 1 card, meaning you take the top card off your deck and put it into your graveyard, and then you gain 1 life and scry 1. Whenever you attack, you may pay 2 colors. If you do, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Very cool card. Again, this is an uncommon. I put it right here because it's a very, very, very neat card right there. We'll kind of push these packs back a little more to give us a little more real estate, so you can see what we got here. But these sketch cards are really cool. I like that because it looks like it came right out of the monster manual. Very cool idea. We have White Dragon. I do want to try to get Icing Death, which I think is a mythic rare. We have Forsworn Paladin. So this is a human knight on this one. This is our rare in this particular one. 1 colorless, 1 black. It has Menace, which means you need 2 or more creatures to block it. Black and colorless, pay 1 life, creature token, a treasure token, which would be one of these. And then your target creature gets +2 until end of turn. If mana from a treasure token was spent to activate its ability, he gains Death Touch. Very cool little rare. Not too bad. Here's a dungeon card. Perfect. We got our first dungeon card. So this is what dungeon cards look like. This is Tome of Annihilation. So basically, when you go into the dungeon, you start at the very top and work your way through. And you can pick which way you want to go through. So if you go into the very first room, it's trapped entry. Each player loses 1 life. You can pick either left or right to go to the next area. But if you go to the right one, you'll get through the dungeon faster, but it has a much more stiffer penalty to complete the dungeon, as opposed to going to the 2 rooms on the left. So very, very cool. Our very first dungeon card. Next pack. And again, these are 36 packs in a box. This is not the collector's box, if you're asking. This is your standard draft box. But I wanted a draft box. That's what I was looking for. So I'm going to go kind of quick through the basic stuff here. You come to a river. There's another one of those choice cards. This one is if you fight the current or you find a crossing. So I can see a dungeon master asking that to his players. So it's a very cool idea. I just don't think it should have been called You Come to a River. We're going to get through it pretty quickly here. Okay, Mimic. So we have another of the sketch cards. This is a common version. So I said they come in all sorts of flavors. I'm not sure if every card got a particular sketch card. I know that a good chunk of them, but this is a Mimic. So we haven't even pulled a Mimic yet. So this is common. You can sacrifice a Mimic, add 1 mana of any color. 2, Mimic becomes a shapeshifter artifact creature with basic power and toughness 3 free until end of turn. Very cool card. We have an owlbear, very classic D&D monster. We see these all the time in D&D. Very iconic for Dungeons & Dragons, especially for the Forgotten Realms. They've never made an owlbear in the Magic the Gathering kind of universe yet. This is the first time it's been made into a card. And he's considered a bird bear. That's what he is. He's an owlbear. That's the idea. You hear something on watch. Again, same sort of cool idea. I like the flavor. Again, don't like the name of the card though. You have the Feywild Trickster, Moonblessed Cleric, Wandering Troubadour, and then our rare is Dritz. We got him. Woo! We got Dritz Orden. This makes me happy. This is the only card I really, really wanted out of the entire set, and we got our first rare sketch card. So very happy to get Dritz. And again, we got another cool land card, and then we got Vecna. If you're not familiar with Vecna, he was a very powerful mage. This is his token. He becomes a legendary creature zombie god. If you have all parts of Vecna, you need a Book of Vile Darkness. I think you need his hand and maybe his eye, and that creates this Vecna token for you. So it's very, very cool that did something like that. I'm really happy that we got the Dritz card. So really cool we got Dritz. Well, I'll showcase Dritz in a second because I didn't show you what he did. So let me show you what he does real quick here. Yeah, I kind of went through it really fast. Dritz Orden, 3 colors, green and a white. I don't think that's the correct representation for his colors. He is a drow, dark elf, but he should have maybe had black in his casting cost because he is a drow. Drow are notoriously known to be evil or not good or power hungry, but he is, he comes from that's his race. That's what he is. I don't know if green and white would have been the best colors for him. I would say maybe black and green, absolutely, because green definitely needs to be there. He has double strike, which means he does his damage twice. He does his damage first with the first strike ability, and then he does his damage a second time if the monster is still there when he does damage, or to the player. He just basically does double damage. And then whenever Dritz enters the battlefield, you create a legendary 4/1 green cat creature token with trample, which is basically Gwenwyvar. And then whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Dritz's power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Dritz equal to the difference. So if Gwenwyvar died, Gwen was a 4/1, he'd become a 5/5. That's the idea for him. Next we'll look at here, we have Boots of Speed, very classic D&D based equipment. We have a foil on this one, I can tell by the back there. Shocking Grasp, another classic D&D based spell. Again, I'm going through pretty quick. We got Beholders. So one thing Magic the Gathering has never done is Beholders. Beholders are sort of unique to D&D. It's always been a very unique creature to Dungeons & Dragons. They're also called Eye Tyrants. We even have Xanathar as a really nasty multicolored legendary creature. But this one, kind of lackluster, my personal opinion, when it comes to Beholders. Because if you look at all those eye stalks up here, in the real game of D&D, each one of those eye stalks is a beam weapon, and each one does a different effect. I would have thought that maybe you would have more choices than just an anti-magic cone, which is the central eye ability of the Beholder, and he has a fear ray. You would think it would be more than just those 2 abilities. Even as being common, I can understand it. I get why they only made 2, because he is technically a baleful Beholder. He looks to be maybe undead. I'm not sure by that. He would have said, maybe zombie next to it, but it looks sort of like an undead Beholder to me, but I don't know if it is or not, so we'll move on from there. Burning Hands again. Cleric class, we saw that one before. Wizard class, which is another one of the class-based abilities. We have Minions of the Mighty. Now this guy is very, very nasty. People are really breaking this card in the game. He's just a single red. He's a rare. He's an 0-1 that brought back Kobolds. They had Kobolds before Magic the Gathering. This one is a pack attack, because pack tactics, that's one thing that Kobolds are really known for, and they took this pack tactics ability and they strung it through many, many cards in this set. So whenever Minions of the Mighty attacks, if you attack with creatures with power total 6 or greater in combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So immediately, if you have 6 attack or more, which is not too difficult to get in Magic, you immediately can drop a dragon attacking or tapped and attacking the player. He's a very sneaky card, very cool card. And we got our first foil card, which is a land. And then we got ourselves another land. If you want to read the flavor text, you're more than welcome to. Arena-based stuff here, no codes. Which they stopped doing codes in the pack. I'm not really sure the reason why. Maybe to save money, I can only assume. Which kind of stinks that we're not getting the arena code cards, at least in the basic set. In the standard draft box, you might get it in the collector's boxes or boxes that are more expensive than this one. So we're just again moving through. You got Yuan-Ti. They actually brought Yuan-Ti into the set. Yuan-Ti, if you're not familiar, are snake people. They have I think they're like true blood versions of Yuan-Ti, which some are almost like this look, or you have ones that are half humanoid body and half snake. Which I think are half-bloods or something along those lines. There's a term for them where a full person like this would have kind of a snake head compared to a half-snake body. So this one is a snake rogue, death touch. Whenever Yuan-Ti Fang Blade deals combat damage to a player, you venture into the dungeon. Another venture into the dungeon mechanic. And he's a common. Compel Duel, Air Cult Elemental. Not too shabby there. We have another sketch card, Celestial Unicorn. So it seems about maybe one every 2 or 3 packs we're getting one of these sketch cards. And this one is a common one. Power Word Kill. Very iconic Dungeons & Dragons based spell. This will kill anything, kind of with the exception of non-angels, non-demons, non-devils, and non-dragon creature. And that's kind of what Power Word Kill does. Now, if you notice the artwork, it looks like there's a lich who's just like saying a word and the guy just dropped dead. So that is a spell in D&D. If I remember correctly, I think Power Word Kill was a level 9 spell, which for most campaigns, you can't get higher than level 9 unless you go to a particular set of dungeons that allow you to go past 9th level. Most of the time, it doesn't happen. I think they've only made, as far as like level 20s where usually most games end, which would get you into around the 9th level spells. I think that you get your first 9th level spell, I think at level 17, something along those lines. But usually campaigns didn't last past level 20. There was one particular module in older D&D that allowed you to go past level 20. And even, I think maybe even 5th edition now, you can go past that with expansions or different books allows you to go past that particular cap. You see a pair of goblins. Very similar sort of thing like we saw before. You choose an effect that you want to happen on the card. We got Prosperous Innkeeper, a little halfling. They brought halflings in. Inferno of the Star Mounts. We have our first extended art card here. It's a different art. There's a nasty little dragon here. 4 colors and 2 red. Legendary creature. This spell can't be countered. Flying in haste. Inferno of the Star Mount gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When it gets power equal to 20 this way, it deals 20 damage to any player. So this is an not extended art. This is an alternate art card. So very, very cool. It is a mythic rare card as well. Let you get a better shot at what the card looks like. Very cool card. And we got a rare out of this as well. We have Teleportation Circle. This is a foil rare. At the beginning of each of your end steps, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature card you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Really cool card, neat effect. Again, we got our cool land, and we got the Tome of Annihilation once again. If you're curious, there are 3 dungeons in the entire set. They only made 3 dungeons. That to me is also a problem because I thought they would make a lot more. They did not, unfortunately. We have here Unexpected Windfall as a first card, and we're going to move through. We have Thieves' Tool, a very classic D&D based item that you would get. So very, very neat. When Thieves' Tool enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. The equipped creature can't be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. And then the equip cost is 2 on that one. So very cool. Potion of Healing, again, another iconic D&D based thing. We see Potion of Healings all the time. Very cool. Secret Doors. Secret Doors, again, big D&D trope that you would always see happening in D&D. Defender, blue. This is a bit weird. This is an artifact creature wall, which is a secret door. So it's a door that actually stops you from getting in. So I guess that's the idea of this, but it's creature. So when you spend 4 colors in a blue, you venture into the dungeon, activate only as a sorcery. So this can allow you to do one of these guys right here. So again, kind of a weird thing, because this is an artifact creature wall. You wouldn't normally think as a secret door as being a creature. You would think of it as just being a door that's very difficult to either find or get through. So again, very, very weird. Swarming Goblins, again, another D20 based card. Mimic. So this is the other artwork for the Mimic we saw over here. So here's the sketch card version, or the Monster Manual version versus the traditional Mimic. So again, very cool card. I like the idea of the Mimic. We have here Charmed Sleep. You have here a Wandering Troubadour. Portable Hole, very classic D&D item. Now, one thing they should have had as a mechanic that it's always a joke to gamers or people who play D&D is what happens if you take a portable hole and stick it inside a bag of holding. That is a thing that is mentioned in the Dungeon Master's Guide that has all the magical items. You tear a hole through the space-time continuum and it will kill or suck in anything, within a quarter mile or whatever the distance around it is and destroy it. So, or bring it to it doesn't destroy it, bring it to an alternate dimension, I believe. So it's a very, very interesting thing. They should have had this. You put this inside a bag of holding, inside a portable hole, and it should have destroyed the battlefield. That would have been a cool little gimmick, but they didn't do that, unfortunately. We have the Goblin Morningstar. So very neat. We have a treasure chest. So this is a kind of cool thing here with a treasure chest. You basically roll a d20 here. It costs 4 to play. Excuse me, 3 to play, 4 to use. You sacrifice it, roll d20. It's trapped. You take damage. 2 to 9, you get a treasure. You get 5 treasure tokens. 10 through 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. Or 20, search the library for a card. If it's an artifact, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. So if you roll a 20 or critical, you get it immediately onto the battlefield. So very, very cool idea there. So we got that there. We have another foil card. We have the Feywild Trickster here. Not too shabby. And we got our land. We got our next dungeon. This is Lost Mine of Pandal Delver. Again, not sure why they went with these particular dungeons. I can maybe only assume these are newer based D&D dungeons as opposed to dungeons I've done years and years ago. But again, cool idea to have these. Again, when you go through these dungeons, one thing I didn't mention, when you complete a dungeon, you usually get some type of benefit, or you get some type of effect that happens in the game. If you complete the dungeon and you want to, you can repeat that same dungeon again a second time. There's no number of times of completing a dungeon. You can still complete the same dungeon. So if you complete, let's say, the Tome of Annihilation, you can immediately, when this is completed, it goes away. You can bring it right back if you can and go through it again. You don't have to just say, completing it one time does not stop you from completing it a second time. And there's cards that specifically say, have you gone through the Tome of Annihilation? Then something happens. There's a card that does that. So going through here, looking for anything great. We have a Jaded Sellsword, which is a common. Okay, we got a Bullet. Bullet, another classic D&D monster. This is a common. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Bullet. 3 colors and a green on this guy. So he's a common. Again, we have another D20 based ability for scrying. We have Green Dragon. Now, one thing they did for every color of the chromatic color dragons, that's green, black, white, red, and blue. And they have unique dragons like the Inferno of the Starmounts here, which is a unique legendary dragon, which is a red dragon. They have a unique multicolor or unique chromatic dragon as well. So you have basic dragons like this one, and then you have I think it's called Old Gnawbone, which is the big green named dragon. So this is an uncommon green dragon. 4 colors, 2 green dragon, and it has poison breath, which is its breath weapon. When Green Dragon enters the battlefield until end of turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, destroy it. So it basically does death touch to anything when it comes into play. So very, very cool ability. We have Bugbears. They added Bugbears to Magic the Gathering. Bugbears are basically, think of them as beefier goblins. That's what they are. We have another another of the sketch cards. We have the Loathsome Troll, 3 colors and 2 green. He is a troll, a 6/2. For 3 colors in the green, you roll a d20. You activate only if Loathsome Troll is put into your graveyard, which is very, very ironic because regeneration, the ability to regenerate, really hasn't happened in Magic in years. So if you roll 1 to 9, it tells you what to do. If you roll 10 through 19, you return it to your hand, or 20, you return it to the battlefield tapped. So this would make the full regeneration ability happen if he was going to be put into your graveyard. We have here our rare, which is the Fogglemouth, which is a nasty kind of frog creature, 3 colors and 2 green. He's a frog whore. He's a 4/4. Trample haste. When Fogglemouth deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many target cards from their hand. You put a +1/+1 counter on Fogglemouth for each creature card exiled this way. You gain life for each non-creature card exiled this way. So very cool, rare, neat looking card. We have our final dungeon, which is Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Now this, if you're not familiar, the Mad Mage is a reference to a character called Halaster Blackcloak. Unfortunately, they did not make a Halaster card in the set, which doesn't make any sense since you have the dungeon for Halaster Blackcloak. But he's known as the Mad Mage of a place called Undermountain. This is based the idea of Undermountain. This is the most difficult of the 3 dungeons to go through. So I don't know why they didn't put Halaster Blackcloak in. He is probably one of the most powerful wizards in the game next to Elemenster, who unfortunately as well is not in this particular set, which makes no sense. I don't understand why. Again, we have Faraday's Fireball. We haven't pulled any Planeswalkers yet. We only pulled 1 mythic rare. Intellect, you have Devour Intellect. They're also called Intellect Devourers. They're basically brains that usually travel with Illithids or Mind Flayers. Nasty little boogers. You don't ever want to mess with Intellect Devourers. Very, very powerful creatures. This is a common one. Target opponent discards a card. If mana from a treasure was spent to cast this spell instead, that player reveals their hand. You choose an online card to discard. So if you use a treasure card to play this, you get to pick the card. So it's a nasty, nasty little card. You come to a river again. We've seen this one before. Armory Veteran. Evolving Wilds, which is the Evolving Wilds in most basic sets. They usually basically just change the artwork up, but very, very common to this. We have Bruenor to match our Dritz. He's an equipment guy who really wants to deal with equipment. 2 colors of red and white. He's a 5/3 dwarf warrior. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. You may pay 0 rather than paying the equip cost. The very first equipment ability you want to activate this turn. So equip decks would love Bruenor. Very, very powerful card. Temple of the Dragon Queen. So this is basically a temple dedicated to Tiamat. Tiamat is in this set, the 5-headed dragon god. So very, very cool ability. It's a land card. Displacer Beasts. First time we've seen them. They have Displacer Beasts in the set now. It's a blue card, 2 colors in the blue. This is a sketch card, of course. This one really doesn't feel like a Displacer Beast to me. Displacer Beasts are basically, the idea of Displacer Beast is when you're fighting this panther with these tendrils on it, they usually displace the air around them to basically appear like 2 feet from their normal position, and that's why you usually miss them a lot in combat, because they displace. But this really doesn't scream Displacer Beast to me. He does have the ability that you venture into the dungeon and you have displacement, that you return Displacer Beast to his under hand. So I guess I'm trying to mimic the ability of displacement, but it doesn't really feel like displacement to me. But a very cool card nonetheless. Then you have the Black Staff of Waterdeep. Again, we don't have Kelvin in this set. Kelvin Arunson is the Black Staff of Waterdeep. We have his weapon here. This is a blue artifact. You may choose not to untap the Black Staff of Waterdeep during your untap step. You have Animate Walking Statue, which if you see in the background right here, you'll see this big, huge statue, which is basically going to venture, he's huge in the skyline, so you would think he'd be very, very, very big. He's only a 4/4 creature, so underwhelming artifact to me. We have another land, and then we have, again, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So we get like these dungeon cards about it looks like every 3 packs or so. We've gotten a lot of the sketch cards, more than I thought we would get from this set. Kind of surprised by that. We're going to kind of zip through here again. A half-elf monk. So we do, like I said before, we had monks. Now we have half-elves. And he is human elf monk. He is a half-elf monk. That's exactly what he is. We have vampires. Vampires are known to be in Magic. They happen here as well. Here's our Bullet that we finally got the normal version of the Bullet. Power Kill again. You see a pair of goblins again. Fly. Wizard Spellbook. So 5 colorless and 2 blue. Each target instant, it's going to be exile target. So you tap it. Exile target instant sorcery card from a graveyard. A graveyard. It doesn't be your graveyard, any graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery. And then you have these different abilities that would happen when you roll a d20. So kind of a cool ability. We got ourselves a land, and we got ourselves the Fendelver dungeon again. So far, I've gotten what I've wanted. I wanted the Dritz card. That's what I wanted the most out of this particular set. My personal opinion. That's what I really wanted, was the Dritz card. So I'm very happy about that. Now moving on again, we got the Celestial Unicorn that we saw before in the normal version right here. Ray of Frost, again, another traditional Dungeons & Dragons spell. This is, I believe, a cantrip for wizards. It's not a very powerful spell, but it's very useful for spells for low-level wizards. Ray of Enfeeblement, again, another classic Dungeons & Dragons-based spell. Vorpal Sword. So this was the Buy a Box promo, but it was a different artwork. And what makes Vorpal Sword really cool is it costs 1 black to play it. It's an artifact equipment. When you equip a creature, it gets +2/0 and has Death Touch. If you spend 8, which is 5 colors and 3 black, until end of turn, Vorpal Sword gains whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Costs 2 black to equip. So you pump all this black mana into this weapon, and you can literally kill the Planeswalker. One thing that Vorpal Swords are known for in Dungeons & Dragons is their Vorpal, or they have the ability of being Vorpal, which means they sever heads. Hence the warrior holding the Medusa head in the bottom corner over here by the hair. One thing they had for Dungeons & Dragons were Vorpal-based weapons, and they always would cut heads off on high scores. Usually a critical would sever the head. That's the idea of a Vorpal Sword. Our mountain, and we have ourselves another treasure token, the same one we saw before. So we got the Buy a Box promo for the Vorpal Sword. So a couple of the ones I really wanted to get my hands on. I wanted the Dritz card. That was one of the ones I really wanted the most, which is this guy again right here. I wanted the Dritz. I wanted the Vorpal Sword. I want to get, hopefully, Xanathar. That'd be another cool card to get. He's a very cool commander, a very powerful card. Let's see, we got Eyes of the Beholder. Now this one kind of makes sense because you're being hit by all the rays of a beholder, and the target creature gets -11 until end of turn. So it pretty much will kill any creature in the game. That's the idea of this. It's done at instant speed. It costs a lot. You have to target the creature, but anything you hit with it, as long as you can target it, will be dead, or should be dead. Let's see what else we got here. We got Baleful Beholder. We saw the Baleful Beholder before. Here's the sketch card version of that same card. Again, he sort of looks undead to me. So, yeah, I wish this could do more than what it was listed as. We have our Freydrike's Devil Chosen, which is a Tiefling. Tieflings are basically, I think they're devils. I think they're devils or demons. They're one of those. They're sort of a Tiefling is a sort of like a half elf, is a demon and a human, or a devil and a human had a child. That's a Tiefling, and you can see the horns in the head. So I think it's a devil. It might be a devil or a demon. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. I'm not sure if it's devil or demon. Rust Monster, one of the most feared creatures when it comes to warriors. They destroy anything that they touch with their little tendril here. This little what right here? This little thing right there, I think it's your antennas. Let me look at this card up close real quick here. Yeah, usually it's their antennas. So it's not really drawn correctly. Normally, a Rust Monster would have these long antennas that would come off the top of its head, and anything those antennas touch would be turned. They have to make a check, a saving throw in the game, or the item would be destroyed if it's non-magical or it loses magical pluses. So this is a first striking creature. You sacrifice an artifact. Rust Monster gets +2/+. Again, you destroys rust. He destroys metal to get more powerful. That's the gimmick. We have a Roper, another classic D&D monster. We have a Flymph. Now, Flymph, I'm not really sure what these are all about. These are jellyfishes, but I'm not sure exactly what this does. I've never seen it in D&D as a creature before, so I don't really know. The video's at 30 minutes already. Wow. So, yeah, I'm going to try to move through these a little faster, guys. We've got dungeon cards. I still have half the box to go, and I'm kind of going through it as quick as I can. So I'm going to stop yakking and just put the pedal to the metal. Let's see. We've got a Mace +2. Very classic D&D based equipment. Mordenkainen. Mordenkainen is a planeswalker in the game, in D&D, and he's also he's a planeswalker in Magic, and he's known as a very powerful wizard in D&D. So Mordenkaien's polymorph, so a very, very cool ability based on Mordenkainen. Price of loyalty. We have one of these new cool dungeon, these new cool lands. These are very, very neat. I see the red, owlbear. So here it is here, Evolving Wilds. You saw that before. So the idea for these lands, these are alternate art, and the idea is a feeling of an old Dungeons and Dragons module. This is how the old basic modules looked in D&D. So they have the dungeon module name here, so Dungeons and Dragons, Evolving Wilds. I mentioned for characters level 1 through 4, because this alternate art version is just for Evolving Wilds, which is a basic card. It's a common card. That's why it's levels 1 through 4. That's why it looks like that. But very cool to get an Evolving Wilds there. Morningstar again, and we have Paladin class as our next another enhancement here. This is excuse me, an enchantment. That's what these ones are here. We got a basic land, and we have a fairy dragon. Fairy dragons are very well known in D&D. They're very powerful little creatures, so very cool to get a fairy dragon. I do like these alternate land cards. The old feel of modules is really, really cool. I like that idea. Very neat sort of aesthetic. We're going to move through it pretty quick here. We have Mordenkainen's again. We have a Neverwinter Dryad. So we talked about Neverwinter Dryad before. This is the alternate art for it, the sketch card version. Like the way it looks. We have here Sun Insight, Divine Smite. We have Tiger Tribe Hunter. And then for our... we got Xanathar. We did get him. Woohoo! Woo! Getting all the good pulls. We got Xanathar here. We have no Planeswalkers yet. So the idea of this guy here, Xanathar is a mob boss who lives in a city called Skullport. He basically runs a thieves guild. And Xanathar is a title bestowed to beholders. He's not really a guy named Xanathar. It's his title. There have been many Xanathars before, and they're very only interested for themselves. They only care about other beholders and their power and their greed. So they're very cool. They basically steal things, and that's what this guy does here. He steals cards out of the player's deck. So very, very cool idea. Very, very neat ability. Love Xanathar here. So that's another Mystic Rare. We have another foil, Dragonfire, land, and we have Gwenwyvar. We got the Gwenwyvar token right here. So very cool to get both grits and the token. I didn't know they made a token for Gwenwyvar. So very, very neat. You have here some abilities that are based for the set, for the Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. So this is very useful. This is the key for all the abilities. So I do like that a lot. Very cool idea. So we're about halfway through the set right now. We're sitting in at 37 minutes. Again, the powerful Beholder kill spell. Again, we're going to zip through it. Mana Cores, very classic in D&D. They are in Magic. We've seen them before. We have Gretchen Titchwillow. So we got ourselves a legendary Halfling Druid. Red Dragon. So we saw the named Red Dragon. Now we have just a standard Red Dragon. He has Fire Breath, so he has a breath weapon when he comes into play. 4 colors and 2 red. 4/4, flying. Fire Breath. When Red Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. It's a very cool ability. We have a Blink Dog. We've seen those in D&D before, so first time seeing them in Magic the Gathering. Very cool ability is Blink. He phases out. That's what the Displacer Beast should have done. He should have had a phase out ability. We have the Rogue class, another class-based ability. And we have Bar the Gate as our foil in that one. Again, our land, and we have another treasure token. So, so far, not bad pulls. So far, I'm kind of happy what we've gotten out of these packs. Not too shabby. We're looking for a card called Demi-Lich. Demi-Lich is the most expensive card in the entire set. It's going for about $30 right now online, so it's a very powerful card. Ranger Longbow. We haven't seen that equipment yet. Ambushed on the Road, another choice card that we were talking about before. And we're just going to zip through a little faster. Ray of Frost. Okay, we have Hive of the Eye Tyrant. This is one of those special lands that we're looking at, like one of these. It comes in this flavor as well. This is one of those special lands that these are all. This one is a rare version of a special land. That's a black version, so it creates a beholder if you spend the amount of mana right here to do it. I'll read it real quick here. If you have 2 or less land when it comes into play, it doesn't tap. But if you have more land than that, the card comes in play tap. You tap it for black. You spend 3 colors in the black until end of turn. The Hive of the Eye Tyrant here becomes a 3/3 black beholder creature with menace. And whenever this creature attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard. It's still a land. So very cool ability. Very cool card. We have a wolf token right there as well. But yeah, so far, not good pulls. But again, there's lots of stuff to talk about at the end of this particular video, and I'll do a cleanup to talk about it at the end. But there's a lot to really discuss about this set as a whole. We have Hexblades, which are usually psionic-based characters. So very, very cool. Hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are, again, like bugbears, but beefier goblins. That's the idea of them. We have leather armor. First time we've seen leather armor. Dungeon map, an uncommon. That basically allows you to venture into the dungeon, which makes perfect sense. Barbarian class. So again, more class cards, more enchantment cards. Portable hole. We've seen that before. Dungeon Descent. So this basically, Dungeon Descent enters the battlefield. You add colorless. You spend 4 and tap it. Tap an untapped legendary creature you control. Then you venture into the dungeon. Very cool ability if you want to do a deck based in going into dungeons. That's what this is for. And again, another dungeon card of the Mad Mage. So we're basically getting, it looks like a dungeon card every maybe 3 or 4 packs. So if you were drafting this in a draft, this is a draft booster box, and you absolutely would have gotten these dungeon cards out of that booster box. Spike Pick Trap, very common. We've seen these before. Again, we're just going to hurry through. Pixie Guide. So we got our Pixie Guide sketch card, monster manual card. Again, dungeon map, druid class. So we've seen the druid class for the first time. Critical hit. Critical hit happens in D&D usually whenever you roll a 20. Unless certain weapons had you can have a threat range higher, better than 20 in certain D&D. I don't know if 5th edition allows you to do that. 3rd edition D&D, you could change your threat range from, let's say, a 20 to a 19 or a 20. That would be considered a threat. And then you would roll again if you hit something. Then that would be a critical. I don't know if 5th edition does that. I haven't played 5th edition in a long time, so I'm not familiar. When you roll natural 20 anytime, then you get a critical hit from your graveyard to your hand, and this gives you creature double strike until end of turn. Ranger class. So this is another rare, another class ability. And we got ourselves a swamp on that one, and another dungeon card. So we're about halfway done. We're sitting at 40 plus minutes right now. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you're having a good day today. Not too bad of a box. I do say so myself. It's pretty good so far. I hope to get myself a Planeswalker. I have not pulled one Planeswalker yet. We have Kalain, Reclusive Painter. So he's a black and a red human elf bard. So when she enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. When other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them for each mana from a treasure spent to cast them. So if you're pumping mana from treasures, your guys get bigger. That's the idea. We have a Death Priest of Merkle, which is very, very cool. Merkle is one of the, I think it's the god of death in D&D. It's called Merkle. M-Y-R-K-U-L. It's not called Miracle, it's called Merkle. That's the correct terminology. We have Barrowin of Clan Undor, which is a dwarf priest. Westgate Regent. Interesting that they have, again, characters coming from different locations. Westgate is a city in D&D. This one is a vampire, 3 colors and 2 black, 4/4 flying. Ward, you discard a card. When this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, unless a player discards a card. So if you tried to hit this creature with a spell or an ability, then you have to pitch a card from your hand because he's warded. Whenever Westgate Regent deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So a very powerful little vampire. And we have a dungeon map in foil flavor. Another land, and ourselves welcome to the arena again. So far so good. Again, looking for the big hits, looking for the Planeswalkers, looking for the Demi-Lich. We have not gotten that yet is all. I've only pulled one Mythic Rare, and that was that alternate art one. We haven't pulled anything else since. We got here another dungeon card out of this one. So let's go through and see what we get here in this one. We got another Bullet. You meet in a tavern. Very classic thing that happens in D&D. Another Vorpal Sword. We got our second Vorpal Sword. So we pulled 2 Vorpal Swords out of this box. Which is not uncommon. Usually you can pull several rares That are the same rares out of boxes. Clattering Skeletons. Again, another unique piece of art, very Monster Manual based. This is a common version. We saw Druid class already. We get Eye of Vecna. Again, we were talking about Vecna before. 2 colorless, legendary artifact. When Eye of Vecna enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 2 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 colors. If you do, you draw a card and you lose 2 life. And that is another rare. All right, we're almost done with this box. We have about another, I would say maybe 10 packs left. We've kind of breezed through this box as quick as I can go. Plate Armor, another very traditional kind of medieval based thing you see in fantasy games, very traditional in Dungeons and Dragons. Fighter class, we got another enhancement card for fighters. Another land, and our wolf again. We've only pulled, again, only 1 mythic rare out of the box. You usually get, I think you normally get out of these boxes, I want to say 3 mythic rares. That's what I think the normal number is. Hill Giants, we've seen this before in D&D. You find the villain's lair, a very typical thing that can happen in D&D. Frost Giants, again, another D&D thing. Dungeon Crawler, I can see that definitely in D&D. It does do stuff when you go into the dungeon on that one. 50 feet of rope, that's sort of a gag. Usually adventurers always have to start with 50 feet of rope. Surprised they didn't have the 10-foot pole. That's a normal thing that you usually start in D&D with. Another fighter class. That's our second fighter class. Token right there. I don't know why we only had 1 mythic rare. Hopefully we don't have a junk box. Again, these boxes were about 119 bucks for this box. We have the Rook Painter. We saw the unique artwork for this one right here before, which was this one right here. We saw her alternate art, and now we see the original art. So the alternate art right there. Here's her original art right there. Looks very, very nice. Here, a Death Whisperer, Human Elf Warlock. We have ourselves a Cloister Gargoyle, another dungeon-based effect. Book of Exalted Deeds, and this is very, very funny. This card right now is banned, I think, in Historic. I think it's maybe banned in Standard. As soon as this card came out, people were breaking this card 8 ways to Sunday. I think it is kind of an expensive card, but it is our second mythic rare. And we have a Displacer Beast. This is what normal Displacer Beast looks like, the shiny 1 version of it right there. So very, very, we're sitting again at 47 minutes. Usually these unboxing videos usually take me about, I was hoping for 30 minutes, but that sure as heck didn't happen. Zombie Ogre. I can see that definitely happening in D&D. Our Mimic again, 50 feet of rope. Chaos Channeler. We haven't seen him yet. We have Volo, Guide to Monsters, which is kind of unique because they actually have, the character of Volo is a character in D&D. He has books about different areas and monsters you can see in D&D. Very cool way to make him into Magic the Gathering. I do like that idea. Very, very cool. All right, let's see what we got here. Again, zipping through it now. Wizard class, Paladin class. We got Paladin class again. So we have 3 class cards back to back. Cleric class, Wizard class, and Paladin class. And of course our Paladin class is our rare card. Right there. We might only get 2 mythic rares in this set. We're hoping for Demi-Lich, we're hoping for Mordenkainen. Those are the ones we're really hoping for. So far, not there. And we got a Black Dragon. Black Dragon again, they have one of every basic dragon. They're all uncommon in the chromatic based dragon category. This one has acid breath weapon, which is what dragons have. For black dragons, they spit out black dragons shoot out acid breath weapon, a jet of acid breath. That's what I was trying to say. We have Telsar Moon Dancer. I think she is a drow. She looks like a drow. So very cool. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on Telsira, Moon Dancer, and you scry 1. Mind Flare. Very cool to have a Mind Flare. This is what a Mind Flare would look like. They're called Lithids. 3 colors, 2 blue, 3/3. Dominate monster. When Mind Flare enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Mind Flare. Very cool ability. We have a foil of Hama Pasha Runeseeker. We have not yet pulled her. So she's uncommon. Room abilities of dungeons you own trigger an additional time. So if you walked into a dungeon room here, if it triggered once, if you had her out, they trigger a second time. Very cool ability. If you're doing something with a dungeon-based deck, I can definitely see a use for that. Let's kind of fix our piles here. I could definitely see something like that if you're making a dungeon-based deck. Again, I don't know how well the dungeon mechanic is going to hold up, all things said, because it's only being used in this particular set. So I don't know if they're going to continue the dungeon mechanic or not. That I don't know. We got Mana Core. I don't think we've gotten the alternate art version of Mana Core yet. Gnolls. I did stuff with Gnolls. Gnolls are pretty cool. They usually have, also they have a nastier version of Gnolls called Flins. They tackle something called a Flin bar. They have pack tactics, so if you do 6 greater or power or more, then you do an ability. So that's what these ones do. Not as good as the course we saw for that little Kobold. Kobold was much more powerful. Wizard class, Burning Hands, Old Gnawbones. This is probably our last mythic rare. So we saw the Green Dragon. This is a nastier version of the Green Dragon. Whenever a green creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. Also, there's a really powerful elf that we haven't pulled. I don't know if we're going to, but it's very, very powerful. We have a Circle of the Moon Druid, which is a foil card. I don't know if we're going to pull up. We hear it's Rook, which is another Planeswalker. We have not pulled her. This is our token, but we've not pulled her either. Hopefully we pull that elf. She's basically the version of a Gaia's Cradle, meaning for every, I think it's every land you control, you tap her for green. So if you had 5 land out, she would generate 5 mana. If you had 6 land out, she would generate 6 mana. Very cool ability, which is what I think Gaia's Cradle did, which is a very expensive card. Bag of Holding. They brought back Bag of Holding. This was a card that was, I think, in a special standalone set by itself. Very cool ability. Again, they did nothing with Bag of Holding with Portable Hole. It would have been cool if they would have done it, but they did not. Uncommon, and we have Meteor Swarm. Very powerful wizard spells. I'll think of it as multiple fireballs. Very, very neat ability. Very, very cool spell nonetheless. Another rare card. So we're down to maybe 5 packs. Hopefully we get something else very, very juicy. It's been a great unboxing with you guys. Hopefully you do enjoy it. Again, the video's running close to like 45, 48 minutes right now, so longer than I thought it would be, but happy to still open it. We have 2 sketch cards back to back. You have Mana Core again, which you have one there, and then we got Iron Golem, which we haven't even pulled an Iron Golem yet, so this is an uncommon. Vigilance, Iron Golem attacks for blocks, combat if able, so you always has to attack and block. Blue Dragon. There's a very nasty Blue Dragon, named Blue Dragon, but it's the first time we've seen the Blue Dragon. We have the Hama Pasha Runeseeker, which is, we saw the alternate version of her. Now we got the real version. Dragon Turtle, again, classic D&D based creature. We've seen these all the time in D&D. Really cool to finally have a Dragon Turtle in the game. Kind of underwhelming. 2 colors in the blue for 3/5. Flash, drag below. When Dragon Turtle enters the battlefield, tap in and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during the controller's next untap step. So kind of underwhelming for that. We have here, you come to Null Camp, which is another one of those cool effects, like the D&D based thing a Dungeon Master would say to his group. So kind of cool for a foil card. And then we have our Plains. We're just finishing up here. Hopefully we get some other very cool stuff. Kind of zip through again. We have another Bag of Holding. This is our second one we've seen. Lightfoot Rogue, another very cool and common. We got the Demi-Lich. Woo! So we got the most sought after card in the set. What makes this kind of unique, basically a Demi-Lich is a Lich that's not become full Demi-Lich, it has not become a full Lich yet, but you'd think because he's not become a full Lich yet, he'd be less powerful. He gets, basically, you can get this guy out for free, basically, if you cast and discard blue spells, or very cheap blue spells. He just can keep popping back and forth out of the graveyard, so it's a very troublesome creature that keeps popping out almost for free whenever you get rid of it. So it's a very powerful card. We have here very unique shiny foil. We have Rhymefield Frost Giant. We saw him before. He's Ward 3, but this is the first time we've seen it in the sketch card variation. So very, very cool. We got to set up another dungeon card. So we got the Demi-Lich. I'm very happy we opened this box. If we pull one more mythic rare, it'd be very, very cool, but I doubt it. Usually I don't have the greatest luck when it comes to pulls in Magic cards. We have our, again, Barbarian class, Mind Flare. We got another Mind Flare, so our second Mind Flare, another land here, and we have a treasure token. As you see, I'm kind of speeding up the pace now to try to get through the rest of this stuff. Over here, all right. You see a guard approach. We saw that before. I have another one of the lands cards. I just see it coming up here. It's another Evolving Wild. So we got our second one of these really cool alternate art land cards. We pulled one Evolving Wilds. We pulled a second one now. Power Word Kill. You see a Goblin, Fly, and we have, this is the guy I was talking about. This is the one that was really, really people want because it costs, it's just a rare, 3 green, and it's a 2/1. But you tap it, you get green for each creature you control. So it is a Gaia's Cradle, walking Gaia's Cradle. This is the card that people are looking for a lot as well. Maybe not as much as our Demi-Lich over here, not as much as this guy here, but really people are searching for this card a lot now because of what the Gaia's Cradle meant in D&D. It's like $100 card. I guarantee over a few years, this card right here is going to be worth some money. I guarantee you that. Hopefully pull a second one of her. We have a alternate version of the Green Dragon. So we saw the Green Dragon before. This is the alternate version art of that same Green Dragon. It looks really, really cool. Our Rust Monster. Now this looks more like the Rust Monster that I was talking about. See the big tendrils right here that are coming up? These are the things that destroy metal. Yeah, this looks more like your traditional Rust Monster than the one we actually saw. So very, very cool. We have a Lonesome Troll. We have another treasure chest. That's our second treasure chest. Forest and another treasure token. We only have 3 packs left. Let's hope we pull something juicy out of this now. I'm hoping we get something. We got ourselves a Goblin Javelineer. Very first card, another alternate art picture. I do really like these alternate arts. I think these ones are really neat. I like what they did with that. We have ourselves a Pixie Guide, and again, another alternate art version. Moving on, we have another Hama Pasha Runeseeker. So we had 3 of these alternate arts in 1 pack. Iron Golem, our 4th one, which is a rare. So we got ourselves Delina Wild Mage. We haven't even pulled the rare version of her yet. She's 3 colors in the red. She's an elf shaman. Whenever Delina Wild Mage attacks, you choose a target creature you control, then roll a d20, and these are what the effects would be. So 1 through 14, you create create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the creature, except it's not legendary and it has exiles creature at end of combat. Or 15 through 20, create one of these tokens and you can roll again. So Wild Magic is really chaotic and really random. It does really, really weird things, and this is a really cool ability. I like that one a lot. Then we have a Devil right here, and then we have a land, which is just a normal swamp. 2 packs left, and I'm hoping that we can get something else yummy out of this. Hopefully we can get ourselves another one of those really cool elves, maybe a planeswalker, since we haven't pulled any of them yet. It'd be nice if we got ourselves one. Hopefully we can pull ourselves a planeswalker. I want to show it off to you. I think there's 4 planeswalkers in this set, I believe. So let's keep going and finish it off strong. Cleric, Fly, Power Word Kill, and we have Oswald Fiddlebender on this one here, the white card. And the last pack of this box, and then we'll do final thoughts. All right, let's see what we get here. You kick in the door. Very traditional thing you do in a dungeon. Again, another Mimic, another Owlbear, and we end with the Monk class. Kind of a weak end. We didn't finish strong. We finished kind of weak here, in my personal opinion. So let's put all this stuff aside here, and we will kind of clean up the table and give you my final thoughts. All right, guys, my final thoughts on the Adventures of Forgotten Realms, the very first core Dungeons & Dragons set made for Magic the Gathering. It's to me a hit and miss. I love the idea, having Dungeons & Dragon based characters and cool spell effects and things based on like the classes, like this Monk class card right here. It's very, very cool and very iconic to me because I played D&D all throughout my life, and I love the idea. The biggest thing I think is the big negative to me, people don't like those name spells, which we talked about before, which is the problem. The dungeons themselves seem kind of watered down at best. They're not super powerful abilities. We wish they had more oomph into the dungeon abilities themselves. We only have 3 dungeons. Also, we don't have really cool characters from D&D. Very iconic characters. For example, we don't have Elemenster, the most powerful wizard that ever took place in Magic the Gathering. The guy Ed Greenwood, who created the Forgotten Realms, made a character called Elemenster. He is well known, well recognized in any D&D circle you go to. Everybody knows who Elemenster is. They didn't make Kelvin Blackstaff or son. They made the equipment that we pulled. They didn't have Hallister. Again, another very iconic mage when it comes to Forgotten Realms. They didn't give us very iconic lands in D&D. There was no Watergate. There was no Baldur's Gate. There was no Neverwinter. There was no Undermountain. They had, of course, we have the land here, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, but they didn't make the Undermountain card. Nothing that said Undermountain on the card. I was expecting those sort of things. Again, very iconic lands that could have did stuff with Baldur's Gate, could have did stuff in Neverwinter. You could have had a character going to these particular lands, and you would do something inside these cities. You would think it would be like land cards, but it'd be city cards. You would do something in cities. You go to the tavern. You go to buy something. You would more of a D&D based theme is what I was getting at here, which I think is kind of a misstep. They could have done more with that from that aspect. Again, do like the sketch cards. Think they're really, really cool. I love these cards. The dungeon, like the old modules that they came up with. These are really, really cool. I love that particular idea of having like a module look and feel. Again, should you buy this box? Again, I bought mine for about $119, $120 for the basic draft booster box, which is again this guy right here. The collector's boosters are way more expensive. I think they're like $225, $250. They are not cheap. You get, I think every card's a foil card. You get like between 4 and 8 between rares and mythic rares per pack. So it's really packed with value, but it's extremely, extremely expensive. To me, again, this is both a hit and a miss. I think they could have done a lot cooler stuff with this. Are they going to be doing another core set and replacing it in the D&D world? That I don't know. I don't know if they're going back to the Adventures of Forgotten Realms in another release down the road, or is this just a one-shot deal to see how well this set would do? I think they would sell a lot of product because there's a lot of D&D players that recognize, of course, the Forgotten Realms as their main go-to campaign setting. That's where I was trying to get to the whole time, campaign setting. But I don't know if this is going to really hold up because a lot of people have some concerns with the particular cards in the set, especially that card that we saw before. I know that people are going to have a lot of concerns with this guy right here. The Demi-Lich, people are really upset about him. And the Book of Exalted Deeds. There's a black book that's not as powerful as this one. This basically, what this card basically does, allows you to get angels at the end of turn if you get 3 or more life. But what makes it powerful is a platinum angel-like ability, where if you spend 3 white and you tap it, you exile the Book of Exalted Deeds. You put an enlightenment counter on target angel. It gains you can't lose this game, and your opponent can't win the game. There's a combo with a particular land card, which is a shapeshifter from the Keldheim set. That's every class or every creature type. So you basically animate the creature. It's an angel. You put this on it, and then it turns back into a normal land, and you can't kill the land, and the opponent can never win the game, but you can't lose the game. So it's a very broken card. That's why this card got banned. But all things considered, I mean, we got the Eye of Vecna. We didn't get the Hand of Vecna. We got 2 Vorpal Swords. I do like the class cards, as I mentioned before, but we even got Xanathar, which was very, very cool. Happy to get Xanathar. The Blackstaff, not that powerful to me. We have the alternate art for Inferno of the Star Mounts with a very powerful red dragon. But like as I mentioned, there's a lot of really cool cards in the set. It just, I don't know, something just seems off to me. That's what it feels like. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm concluding at this video. Something feels a little bit off. But all things considered, if you can find the box for a good price, I wouldn't say anything more between $120, $130 US to buy a box. You might even be better off just buying individual cards that you may need. So I do hope you like this video review and breakdown of the Magic the Gathering Dungeons & Dragons Adventures in Forgotten Realms. Again, I hope you like it. Definitely click the like button on the page. Click that subscribe button with a picture of my face. When you subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified of my latest videos. And of course, last but not least, you can click Windows over here to watch more of my content. Take care, guys. See you next video. Bye-bye.